I think if Texas A&M beats Texas, I see no reason in the world to think that they can't beat Georgia. So I think that's more than possible. But the question is, can they beat Texas? They're a 5-point dog, I believe. I'm not sure if that number has changed. They're about almost a 2-1 on the money line. Statistically speaking, Texas is a much better team than Texas A&M, but they don't play the game on stats, and it's going to be a madhouse. At this venue. The ticket prices, the average ticket prices for this game are the largest average ticket prices for a football game ever. I think it's over $1,000, the average ticket price. So it's going to be a madhouse. It's a night game.
Excuse me one second, Greg. Greg, maybe you know the answer because I didn't get a chance to look it up. Is this the first time that they are meeting since A&M left the conference to go to the SEC?
Yeah, they haven't played since 2011.
2011. You know, guys, they played every year from 1915 to 2011.
Yeah,
A&M and Texas played each other for 96 consecutive years. And right now they haven't played her 14 or 15
and often
years.
It was a Thanksgiving Day game.
Right, it certainly was. I got to mention something because I believe Jim's dog barking in the background. And guys, it reminds me, you know.
That means we have to play dogs all weekend.
No, we're going to talk about
that was his
dogs.
opinion on A&M.
We're going to talk about dogs right now. You know, Tony mentioned the carnage in the SEC conference. That trio of road upsets, it shook up the SEC playoff picture big time last week. Alabama slid, 6 spots after that stunning 24-3 loss to Oklahoma. Ole Miss, double-digit road favorite. They dropped 5 spots after falling by 7 to Florida. Of course, A&M dropped 5 spots after that loss to Auburn.
And by the way, college football, get rid of that stupid 2-point conversion rule after only 2 overtime possessions. You want to do it? Let at least 4 or 5 regular, and it's not even a regular position. You're starting from the 25-yard line, but at least let them play more than 2 overtime periods. And in fact, even go into the 3rd overtime before you make them go for 2. You know,
it's right. Credit Mark on his play. That was his 10-star college football game of the year. Auburn last week against A&M, thinking maybe A&M's got to look ahead.
Watching that game going, I knew it all the time.
Right, it was 21-0 at one point, Auburn. It got, of course, very, very dicey. It went into those multiple overtime periods. Regardless of how it happened or how he got it done, give Mark credit for that 10-star game of the year winner. But guys, this conference, the SEC, has been all about the dogs all season long.
Yeah.
Particularly in conference play. Here's the numbers from the database. Underdogs in SEC conference play are now 40-18 against the spread this season. That's 69%. Just flat out underdogs in the SEC conference. Even better on the road, 21-6 ATS. But anyway, since I heard Jim's dog barking, I had to mention the great numbers for the underdogs in this conference this year.
And I'm gonna keep it going because I'm gonna take Kentucky. That's not even though they are an SEC home dog, but not in an SEC matchup. But still, they're an SEC team as a home dog. I'm gonna take South Carolina.
Fans don't want to win that game.
What's that?
I said Kentucky fans don't want to win that game, and it's hated Louisville. They'd rather Mark Stoops be gone.
And by the way, the teams I know we haven't talked a lot about, they still have a chance, is South Carolina. And sure. South Carolina is now in place. They're 15th in the rankings. A few things can happen and go their way. I mean, they're playing such great football. They get another big win on their resume if they beat Clemson. And by the way, speaking of the 2-point conversion, it came into play twice this year, big time in the SEC, because South Carolina missed that 2-point conversion to tie Alabama in that game earlier this year.
Yep.
That had, if they get that and beat Alabama, maybe South Carolina is sitting here right now in the playoff picture. And then what happened last week with Texas A&M. So the 2-point conversion attempt, or I should say not one was not overtime, but the other was. But the bottom line is just a 2-point conversion attempt played a big role in the SEC this season. All right.
One quick note on South Carolina, though, and that you mentioned it, the Alabama game. That's going to be the toughie for them to overcome because Alabama was coming off the Vandy loss. South Carolina took them to the limit and did not get that 2-point conversion. So if you put those two head-to-head as 3-loss teams, even though South Carolina's hotter, I would personally put the head-to-head and favor the Tide on that. And
even though Alabama get the home game,
get in there.
There are a lot of SEC people who are or fans across the country who are rooting for Auburn this week to pull the upset and end any conversation about Alabama.
And they might.
Yeah.
So that's another dog. Who do you like in the game, Tony?
Which one? Auburn, Alabama, or
no? Texas A&M.
Oh, Texas A&M. I just think Texas is a little too deep. But I could see A&M winning. Obviously, being at home helps. And we'll see if Ewers is like the ultimate rhythm quarterback. So if he can get into a rhythm, I think they win that game going away. A&M has lost basically 2 out of the top 3 running backs. So it's just that kid Amari Daniels, who's very good, maybe getting 25, 30 carries. I think if they were able to split carries, that would be much better. And then they've lost a couple of receivers as well. Marcel Reed, not really much of a thrower. So I think Texas should win that game, but I could see A&M will be upset.
All right. Anybody else have anything on the Texas A&M game before we move over to the NFL? Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I was going to say, Texas. You wonder what they're going to do. They're going to be in regardless of whether they make the championship game or not.
Yeah.
And there'll be where are they seated right now? Like 5th or 4th?
Well, they got the bye. I think they're second.
Okay, second. So, if they lose to A&M, they can't play in the championship game because the loser's automatically out. So they'd still have they'd be 10-2. Okay, and the losses would have been to Georgia and a decent A&M team. So I would think that if Texas were to lose this game, they're not really hurt. Maybe they don't get the bye. Maybe they do. It depends what happens in some of these other games and championship games. Meanwhile, it gives A&M a better opportunity to perhaps throw out a team like an Alabama or something like that. Because if they get a chance to win the championship game, they would take over a bid that would most likely have gone to another SEC team. And
what about Georgia?
No, Georgia's in.
Well, all right, but if they beat, know what I'm saying? But if they beat Georgia, and that gives Georgia another loss, that's different than Texas's 2 losses and Georgia's 3. Don't you think Georgia probably maybe they're not even in? Maybe Texas A&M is just replacing Georgia.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, yeah, because I guess we also have to think about Tennessee.
Yeah,
and where they would stand up with not playing in the championship game. So,
as long as they don't get upset by Vandy.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, isn't the line pretty much the same with Vandy and Tennessee as it is with Auburn, Alabama? Aren't they both about 11?
It's a little lower. I think it's 8.5.
Yeah, that seems a little short.
Well, Vandy's been covering an awful lot. So
they were in the first half of the season. They did last week, I guess. What was it, against LSU? I think they got a score late.
Pavia has not been 100%. I think that's right. He's just been beat up the whole year. And
I do like A&M. I do like A&M against Texas. It's a rivalry.
Yep.
I think Texas might harbor a little bit more ill will because A&M was the first team to he was the one who broke up the Texas A&M Texas rivalry.
I don't think those kids
15 years ago. Yeah, I don't either. But I give A&M a shot. I'd like to see the line go up a little bit, and if it can hit 6.5, even 6, I'll be on the Aggies.